rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Amadaya production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swilling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Amadaya-Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Amadaya-Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so I apologize for being late, beloveds. Okay, I was having some issues right before I tried to get started. Okay, so anyway, let's get ready to get into it. Let's see who all is in here. Okay, we have Gordon, Claudette, that Crazy Beach Aries. I rock with that. I rock with you, TV. Shadowfly is in here. Okay, Nessa G. All right, Miss Sheila, I see you, beloved. Timothy is here. Joy. Okay, so let's get into it. Everybody hit that like button. All right, Buckhorse DC's Nefarious Self is here. Please don't start any mess today, Buckhorse. Deronda is here. Okay, we the people, Panther Strike. Shout out to my moderators putting in work. And shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. I see your pretty wings. So before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. And you can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, she also provides a lovely beard oil for the men that I'm sure your ladies will love. So make sure you're shopping with 12 Tribes. Okay, so let's get into it. Can everyone hear me good? One's in the chat if the audio is fine. One's in the chat. Let me know if you all can hear me loud and clear, if it's crisp. Okay, I'm going to check my settings real quick. Okay, there we go. Right. All right. So anyway, with that all being said, honey, I had to switch out computers real quick before I got started. That's why I'm late, because an update came through, and once again, it messed up my audio. Now I have to call Microsoft all over again. I am getting so sick and tired of these Windows updates. Okay. I'm getting so annoyed. It always messes up the audio on my other computer. Okay. So anyway, with that all being said, um, Gordon said, Gordon said, when are we going back to the old names? Well, beloved, it looks like they have gone back to them for some people. But Andrew said, wow, I just can't get an effing notification. Andrew, listen, if you go to my email, QueenAShakur@gmail.com, send me an email, beloved. Okay, letting me know that you're not getting notifications, and I will email you the link every morning, just like I do some other people whose emails that I have. Okay, so that's what you can do. That's one remedy, and I'll just send it to you. Okay, so anyway, with that all been said, Gordon, beloved, I would assume that you're G from the land, and I'm not sure why they haven't changed yours back, but they have changed some people's. They're doing it at different times because they're supposedly, according to what I was told, updating the system. Okay, so Panther Strike says you can go into your YouTube account and change it yourself. Okay, so that's a note for the rest of you. Thank you, Panther Strike, for that tidbit of information. Okay, so anyway, let's get into it, honey, because Mark Agnifilo is trying to make sure Diddy doesn't even go to prison. Okay, so let's talk about it. Everybody hit that like button. Okay, so now this came out about 1 o'clock this morning. Diddy's lawyer may ask for home confinement, not prison. Okay, this is an exclusive from TMZ. So Diddy will probably be sentenced to confinement for 1 to 3 years, and his lawyer may ask the judge to let him do his time at home. Okay, so they say Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's lead team or lead defense attorney on his team, tells TMZ that Diddy needs and wants therapy for both anger issues and substance abuse. But he says prisons aren't equipped to provide optimal help in those areas. So Harvey asked Agnifilo, he just flat out asked him, will he ask the judge to place his client on home confinement instead of going to prison when he's sentenced? And he said that's on the table. Now, although Agnifilo said asking for home confinement was a possibility, he went on to say that he's already assembling a team on the outside to provide Diddy with professional help, adding that he would make therapy a condition for supervised release. So now they say Diddy has told Agnifilo that he's aware that he needs therapy and has lived with deficits all of his adult life. Agnifilo says that Diddy vowed to make the most of his incarceration to address these deficits. Okay, did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? And so basically, he said, listen, Diddy needs help, and the type of help that he needs cannot be provided to him in a prison cell. So what do you all think about that? Do you all think a home confinement? Do you all think home confinement is good? And they're saying 1 to 3 years. Okay, they're saying 1 to 3 years, which is about what I was thinking. I told you all 0 to 31 months. Because the bottom line is there's no way that the judge is going to let Diddy walk up out of there October the 3rd. I just don't believe it, because the judge denying his bail a myriad of times, and even this last go around, which makes no sense to me. It seems like the judge is clearly biased, which I have said from day one. So if the judge is not giving him a bail, I really don't think he's going to let him walk out of there with time served October the 3rd, even though he should, in my opinion. Okay, even though he should, in my opinion, at the end of the day. Hold on, beloveds. I'm looking for something real quick. Okay, so I think, hold on. I thought that TMZ interviewed Agnifilo yesterday, and I wanted to go to the audio, but I don't see a video. I could have sworn. Let me see. Well, so anyway, um, Trisha says, I have enough compassion for his forward rehab. Well, that's good. I mean, he definitely, we know. And Joy says deficits are just pure evil. Cheryl says you can tell Agnifilo cares about Diddy, his entire team. Yeah, he does. And it was interesting being inside the court to see their reactions to Diddy or how they interact with Diddy, because they would give him hugs. He would hug all of his lawyers pretty much when he came into the courtroom, when they came in or whatever. He was very attentive to Tini Garagos, pulling out her chair, helping her to sit down and all of that. And I imagine that he's very close with Tini specifically because he's been friends with her father for at least 2 decades, I believe. Not Mark Agnifilo, but Mark Garagos. Okay, so he likely knew Tini when she was growing up. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, Trisha says, I agree with his attorney. I agree with the attorney too. But will the judge go along with it? And here's the thing. August the 29th is coming up. Okay, August the 29th is coming up. And as you all know, if you remember, I reported to you a month or so ago that August the 29th is when that PSR report supposedly comes in for the judge to review. Okay, and see what the probation office, what they have said and come to the conclusion of, and what in fact are their recommendations. Okay, now mind you, the judge doesn't have to go by their recommendations. He can do whatever he wants because it's up to his discretion, but they usually take that into consideration. So depending on what the probation team has, what they say in the PSR report, that could influence the judge. But also, they're saying that Agnifilo specifically said that it's very hard to find any cases that are similar to Diddy's. Okay, but anyway, we'll see how it all pans out. I just think that the judge needs to let Diddy go on home, but he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna give him time served and just let him walk with no prison time or sentencing or whatever. But it definitely should not be more than 3 years. Okay, it definitely shouldn't be more than 3 years. And remember, the prosecution is now saying that they want more time. That they were initially asking for 63 months, but now they want even more time. Now, I don't even think they believe that they're going to get more time, because that would just really show how the judge is being clearly biased, in my opinion. I think that they really just said that to try to make it look like Diddy's a flight risk so that he wouldn't get bail. That's just what I think. And I told you all that from day one. But now let's talk about these lies right here. Because I was just thinking, right, about, the letter that Gina Wynn, that's how you say her name, Wynn, that Gina Wynn wrote. Mel said, Queen, people are scared to death of Diddy. Are they? Are they? What people do you speak of, beloved? You talk about people in general, maybe the people that testified against him, people in the industry. Who do you think is scared to death of Diddy? I have several questions, Mel. Now, but here's the thing. So anyway, as I was saying, I was thinking about how Gina wrote the letter and all of that. She didn't show up to testify. And I was thinking about how the prosecution said that they couldn't find her. Okay, Mel said people in the industry. Okay, I don't know. They could be. I don't think that anybody has anything to worry about with Diddy right now. After the stuff that Diddy's going through and was facing a life sentence, okay, I don't think anybody has a reason to fear Diddy at this point, because if Diddy knows, like I know, and which I'm sure he does, he's not going to be doing anything nefarious when he gets out. At least I would hope that he has sense enough not to, and I believe that he does. Okay, so now that all being said, I was thinking about how the prosecution told everybody, how they said that when the judge asked them, they said something along the lines of they had lost contact with Gina. Okay, do you all remember that being reported? They said they lost contact with Gina, that she was subpoenaed. She was supposed to testify, but they lost contact with her. Okay, well, I'm calling BS on that. I'm calling straight up BS on that. That is a lie, in my opinion. And here's why. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because I started doing some digging. Okay. Now, let me go to this article first. And then I'm going to go to some lies that Gene Deal told. Okay, I'm going to get into that because he needs to sit down somewhere. The clout chase of Diddy, it should be done at this point. Gene, please give it a rest, sir. Okay. Okay, so Gina Hunt, or Gina Wynn. I keep saying her name wrong. Gina Wynn. Okay, so I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I will read a portion of it just to make my point. Okay, so Gina's name was mentioned during the trial more than 120 times. Okay, with prosecutors arguing that she was subject to the same freak-offs, the Hotel King nights, and physical abuse as Cassie and Jane, adding that Diddy's used force, threats of force, and coercion to pressure the three women into unwanted sex. They said, we know that there was violence against Gina, and we know that Gina was in a long-term relationship with Combs that I think most witnesses have testified was extremely toxic. This is what Prosecutor Slavic said in the courtroom. Now, I want you all to think about this. She said, we know that there was violence against Gina, and we know that Gina was in a long-term relationship with Combs that I think most witnesses have testified was extremely toxic. Okay, so she says she knows this. But the thing is, her saying that in court and Gina saying it in court is two different things. Why wasn't Gina really there to say what, to give testimony against Diddy? Diddy's defense team, this is what they said. Diddy's defense team, however, claims that she is not a victim of abuse, believing the prosecution didn't subpoena her due to her testimony possibly ruining their case. Here's the lie. Here's the lie right here. I just happened upon this damn lie, and I'm going to show you how it is, in fact, a lie. They never subpoenaed Gina Hunt or Gina Wynn. They never subpoenaed her, in my opinion. And here is why. Mark Agnifilo said they didn't subpoena her because it would ruin their case. Now, we look at the letter she just wrote to the judge to get Diddy bail, to help him to get bail. And that shows you right there that she was not going to help the prosecution, right? But the prosecution framed it as if we subpoenaed her and she didn't show up. We can't find her. She's missing. We've lost contact with her and her attorney. Lies. Nothing but lies. And I'm going to prove it right here today. And just remember, you heard it here first. Okay, because this is my research. Now, with that all being said, let's get into it. So Mark Agnifilo said, he said she's not a victim of abuse and believes that the prosecution didn't subpoena her due to her testimony possibly ruining their case. He said Gina is not coming. The government can call Gina if they want to. The government can call Gina if it wants to. Now, it might be difficult. It might be hard to do, but they are the United States of America. They can get Gina into this courtroom if that's what they want to do. They're choosing not to do it. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? This is what Mark Agnifilo said months ago. Months ago. Okay, he said they're choosing not to. So I said, I actually believe this. So let me dig just a little bit deeper and do a little bit more research. Now, let's go to this article about Gene Deal. Gene Deal really needs to sit down somewhere. I don't know why this man tells all these lies. Okay. Diddy's former bodyguard alleges that the mogul paid Gina Wynn millions of dollars not to testify at trial. Now, how would Gene know that? How would he be privy to this information? How would he be privy to this information? Panther Strike said, amen, Queen. You've been calling out the lies for the past year. Thank you, beloved. I absolutely cannot with Gene Deal. So let's talk about it. Leon says, Queen always embracing the truth. Thank you, beloved. Now, here's what it says. And just remember, now here's what I want to tell you all also. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so listen to this. Gene Deal was reportedly banned from the Diddy trial due to an alleged physical altercation outside the Manhattan federal courthouse. That must have been the mess between him and Donut. I didn't even know that he was banned. Now, while the Diddy trial still has a long way to go in federal court, more narratives and accusations continue to emerge outside of it. Many of these came from Gene Deal, his former bodyguard, who launched many allegations against him in the past year and a half. Diddy needs to sue Gene Deal, because I sure would. His latest comes from an interview in The Art of the Dialogue, as reported by All Hip Hop. Deal alleged that prosecutors are struggling to get the mogul's ex-partner, Gina Nguyen, to testify in Manhattan court. The reason for this, according to Gene Deal, is because Puff allegedly gave her $2 million and other considerations to allegedly keep her quiet. First of all, how the hell would Gene know that? Once again, I ask. And then where did he get this number, $2 million, from? Where did he get that from? What's he saying now? That he paid her another $2 million for her to write that letter to the judge? Okay, do you all hear this? Yeah, I know Donut is locked up, beloved. Now, with that all being said, let's continue. Goes on to say they want the prosecution to hurry up to bring Gina in so Gina can paint the picture like everything was consenting because she's been paid off. That's what Gene Deal said concerning Diddy. She took the $2 million payment from Diddy. I think Diddy may have gave her $2 million, and that's him saying gave using incorrect English, not me. I'm reading exactly how he said it, okay? Because I would say given. He may have given, but no. He said, I think Diddy may have gave her $2 million or something like that, got her in school, gave her an apartment in L.A., still was messing with him. Come on, man. Brainwashed. Where did he get all of that information from? Is this a scenario that he created in his mind? Well, of course it is. It's a flat out lie. Now, he says that Diddy likely gave her $2 million, got her an apartment in LA, and put her in school. In school for what, Gene? Since you're going on out there and saying all of this salacious stuff, what did he put her in school for, and what school did he put her in? You see how this is all so much BS? So people just sit up here and make up lies, and then people pay them foolishly, pay them to come on their platforms to hear lies. But let me continue. Now, many believe that Nguyen was victim number 3 in Sean Combs' federal indictment. I told you all that. Remember, you heard that here first. I absolutely told you that she was victim number 3 because I know somebody who knows her personally. Okay. And that's what they told me. They told me victim number 3 was her and that she was not going to testify. Now, here's the thing. Many believe that she's victim number 3 in the federal indictment. Despite a subpoena, no confirmation of this identity emerged. Both prosecutors and defense have mentioned her and referenced her possible but seemingly unlikely participation. So, per CNN, Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, reportedly told the court that Gina Nguyen is out of the case. Gina's not coming. Okay. Christy Slavic, the assistant U.S. attorney, reportedly countered that, alleging that Nguyen was very much a part of the case. Still lying. Okay. When Mark said she wasn't coming, Slavic said, oh, yeah, she's very much a part of the case. The government, and then that's what Agnifilo said, the government can call Gina if it wants to. It might be difficult. It might be hard to do. They are the United States of America. They can get Gina in this courtroom if that is what they want to do. We will see what they decide. This is the one who disappeared, Gene Deal alleges. He said, but she did talk to the federal government. They do have emails and everything from her and her lawyer. So she had to be somewhat involved in that. He also alleged that she's a hostile witness. Well, yeah, that's exactly what she would have been if she had come to testify. Now, meanwhile, Gene Deal was reportedly banned from the trial, allegedly he engaged in a physical altercation outside the courthouse. So they say, take this with a grain of salt. As more information and updates come. The court has heard from many witnesses thus far, including Diddy's former assistant, Capricorn Clark. Okay, so now, once again, there was Mark Agnifilo saying that the feds could get Gina in the court if they want to. Here's what I'm going to tell you all. You know, I don't know how this slipped past me, how I didn't think about this in the first place. But here's the thing. Now, Mark Agnifilo doesn't seem to think that they ever subpoenaed Gina. And now that's what I think. I don't think that they ever subpoenaed her either. And you know why? Because the same reason Mark Agnifilo said, that it could have ruined their case. And now in hindsight that we see that she's written this letter to get Diddy out or to help him get bail. Well, of course she wasn't going to do them any favors. Okay. And I think they were just stalling, smoking mirrors. Okay. Because after she talked to the feds and they heard what she had to say, they probably knew that they weren't going to get her to testify, but they couldn't just come out and say it because then they would look stupid. You know why they would look stupid, beloveds? Because they had her listed in the indictment as victim number 3. Now, after they started talking to her, you know, they conduct all of these interviews, a myriad of interviews with these people. Now, they have this woman listed as a victim, and then now she's talking crazy. She's saying stuff that they know darn well it's going to ruin their case. What do? We can't walk in the courtroom and tell the judge and everybody in front of the jurors and everything that we don't want her testimony. We'll just say, let me see. Oh, we can't find her. That's the ticket. We can't get in touch with her or her attorney despite having had her subpoenaed. Because here's the thing. Now, I want you all to think about this. If they couldn't find her, y'all don't think that they could have reached out to her attorney? Because they can easily find the attorneys. They can easily find the attorneys. They know the attorney's name. They know the firm he works for. So they couldn't call her attorney and say, hey, listen, man or woman, your client, we're not able to get in touch with her and she's supposed to testify. We've already sent her and had the subpoena issued. Can you let her know that we're looking for her and that if she doesn't testify as we've required, she's going to be hit with contempt of court and we can actually pursue charges. We can fine her or even have her imprisoned because they can do that, you know, because they can do that. So why didn't they do it? Because they didn't want her to testify. And here's the thing. Let me tell you something else I thought about. I said, now, how did I forget this? There is something called material witness order. It's called a material witness order. So what is a material witness order? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You see, here's the thing. If someone wants a person to testify, the prosecution, that is, if the prosecution wants a witness to testify and the witness may be hostile, the witness may not want to come in, they may not want to do it, they may try to avoid the prosecution or whatever, they may try to avoid the subpoena being issued and given to them. What the prosecution can do is they can issue a warrant. Okay? They can issue a warrant. It's known as they can issue a bench warrant for one. That's one thing. But the material witness order, they can issue that. And then they can have them detained until after they testify. They can literally have them detained until after they testify. I mean, they could literally walk them into the courtroom in handcuffs. Okay? So if they really wanted her to testify, they would have had her to testify. And here's the thing. Since she didn't testify, now let's just say that they really did want her to and she was subpoenaed and just didn't show up. You don't think that because they lost the case so pitifully, okay, at least the main counts that they were trying so desperately to get, you don't think that they could have filed contempt against her and given her some sort of consequences, especially after she wrote that letter on Diddy's behalf? They didn't do any of that. And that's likely because they never wanted her to testify in the first darn place, because they knew that she was not going to help their case. And here's the thing. Now, why is any of this even important? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because this just goes to show and prove that they know darn well they didn't have a case for trafficking, racketeering, or any of that for Diddy. They knew they didn't have it, and that's why they leaned so desperately on that video of Diddy beating the hell out of Cassie, so they could think that everybody, including the jury, they were hoping would look at that, deem Diddy as a monster, and then just find him guilty because of the violence. Okay? They knew they couldn't prove their case. They were just hoping. We'll have to use this video. This is why they kept showing that video so many times in court. When I was in court, I kept saying, why in the hell do they keep showing this video? I'm tired of seeing it. It's starting to lose its effect. And didn't I tell you all that even before I went to New York, that they'll make a big mistake if they keep showing that video during the trial? Didn't I tell you all that? And I gave you the whole scenario about the real case where the guy had his leg amputated. And then 2 days after I said it, Harvey Levin said the same thing on TMZ. Do y'all remember that? So at the end of the day, the bottom line is they did not want Gina to testify. And here's a good point right here. Bibb Studio says, so the feds couldn't find Gina, but TMZ could? LOL. Exactly. Remember they had that video where they found her in the parking lot, walking to her car? But they said they couldn't find her. Okay? Isn't that something? That's a very good point, beloved. Thank you for that. This is all so crazy. Miss Sheila said, Queen, I'm so glad you went to New York to give us the facts. Thank you, beloved. I am too. Thank you, Easy, for your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. So the whole time they were sitting up here lying. And let me just tell you all something else. Now, remember, here's the thing. In the state of New York, you know, the S trafficking for both Cassie and Gina was actually past the statute of limitations. Okay. The incident would have to, you know, they give you a 5-year window. Cassie and Diddy broke up in 2018. That was the last time Diddy was dealing with her. So that was past the 5-year mark. Gina was dealing with Diddy from 2014 to 2019. And so that was right past the window. So with that all being said, that's why they had to flip Jane Doe. That's why they had to flip her, because she was the most recent. And then that's the only way they could get this RICO case. They wanted to file the RICO. So now they can go back and use Gina and Cassie's testimony against Diddy. Because even though what happened with both of them was past the 5-year mark. Okay. That's why they hit him with the RICO. And also because they wanted to take all of his assets. They wanted to take all of his money, everything that he owned. That's what they wanted to do. They knew they were overcharging. They knew they were overcharging. So I want you all to think about this. For all of the people who continue to say that the feds could have proven their case if they had done it this way, or they could have proven their case if they put out the evidence this way, or if they did this, that, and the third. No, they couldn't have. They couldn't have proven it no matter how they did it, because they didn't have a damn case. And they knew they didn't have a case. They knew they didn't have a case. And Mark Agnifilo was calling them out in the courtroom when he said, Gina's not coming. Gina's not coming. They're the United States of America. It might be hard to do, but if they wanted her in this courtroom, they could get her here. That's what he said. That's what he said. But they didn't get her there because they didn't want her there. They are full of BS. Okay, I want you all to pay attention, because what else have they lied about? Because they've told a few lies, specifically Miss Maureen Comey. Okay, in my opinion, I've told you all that. Okay, this whole thing was a sham. Okay, this whole thing was a sham at the end of the day. Anyway, with that all being said, I just find it all very interesting. I'm like, how did I not think about that beforehand? Okay. Now, what I want to find out, or what I can't wait to see, is if the judge is going to grant Diddy this home confinement. Because remember, the judge said himself days ago when he denied Diddy's bail, because some people are saying, you know, by the fact that the judge didn't give Diddy bail again, that he's likely going to try to hit him with a stiff sentence. But remember, the judge said out of his own mouth that him denying the bail was not going to have any impact on his sentencing of Diddy. You all remember that? And I immediately said, why does he feel compelled to tell us that? Why does he feel compelled to put that out there? Well, because he knows that people that are smart know that he's been biased, and that he's been biased the entire time. Okay, at least in my opinion. That's right. Natasha said the case was built on lies. Exactly, the whole case. Built on lies. And you know, the bad thing is, now that all this has transpired, there's still some people out there that are saying, in fact, that the jurors were paid off. Oh, when you have money, you can do anything. You can buy your way out of anything. People say that and they sound so stupid, because OJ had money. And even though he beat the first case, he still ended up going to prison for something that, in my opinion, he absolutely shouldn't have gone to prison for. Okay, Phil Spector went to prison for shooting that woman in his home. Robert Blake went to prison, did he not? So when people say, oh, if you have money, that really, the fact that you have money does not keep you out of prison. Harvey Weinstein's in prison, lest we forget. Okay? But what money does, like I told you all, conversations with Jay, like he made a very good point. What money does, it enables you to have equal footing. Whatever the prosecution gets, you can get the same thing. If they want to call in forensic experts, you can do the same thing. They want to call in blood spatter experts, you can do the same thing. They want DNA testing, you can do the same thing. That's what money allows. Money allows you to have an equal fight. So you're not there with your hands tied behind your back while the prosecution's swinging at you. You can swing right back at them. That's how that goes. That's what money allows. You see, most people, I'm not going to say most people, but what I will say is a lot of people, they get convicted because they don't have effective counsel. Because in my opinion, public defenders, i.e. public pretenders, as I like to call them, they're not adequate counsel. They work for the state, the same people trying to lock you up. And what they usually want to tell their people, because they have a large case log and all these cases or whatever that they want to just get through. So what they usually tend to tell their clients is go and take a plea. Just take a plea deal. They don't really try to fight for you. So I want you all to keep that in mind. Okay, so anyway, let's get into some more stuff about what Trump is up to. Hold on, let me read a couple of these comments. Easy said, money gets equal representation. Facts, Queen. Exactly, beloved. Michael says Diddy's money allowed him to buy a better defense than the prosecution's. Exactly. He was able to get better lawyers than the prosecution had. Exactly. Okay, so now let's talk about y'all's nefarious president, honey, because Trump, what does he have going on? Do you all, when I tell you they are purging the FBI. So let's get into it. AP report, more FBI leaders are being forced out, including ex-director who resisted turning over January the 6th agents' names. Now, why would they want the names of the agents who worked on the January 6th case? On those cases. Why would they want that? Well, because Trump probably wanted to give them, he probably wanted to give them consequences. Okay? Because remember, he pardoned those people, the thugs and domestic terrorists. That's what he did. So the FBI is forcing out more senior officials, including a former acting director who resisted Trump administration's demands to turn over the names of the agents who participated in the January 6th Capitol riot investigations, and the head of the Bureau's Washington field office. Okay. Now, the basis for the ouster of Brian Driscoll, that's the man who they got rid of. They fired him, I believe, yesterday. The basis for his outing was because he led the Bureau in the turbulent weeks after President Donald Trump's inauguration in January. They say he led the Bureau in the turbulent weeks after Donald Trump's inauguration in January. But the reason for his ousting was not immediately clear. But Driscoll's final day at the FBI is Friday. Today is his last day. Okay, so they said the people who were not authorized to discuss the personnel move by name spoke to AP on the condition of remaining anonymous. See, Trump's cleaning house. Trump is cleaning house. So what he's doing is he is officially a dictator at this point. Okay, anybody he doesn't like, you're fired. Does he think this is a game of The Apprentice? That's what it seems like. Anyway, he says, I understand that you may have a lot of questions regarding why, for which I have no answers. This is what Driscoll wrote in a message to his colleagues. No, because no cause has been articulated at this time. So they fired the man and didn't even give him a reason. Another high-profile termination is Stephen Jensen, who for months had been the assistant director in charge of the Washington field office, one of the Bureau's largest and busiest. He confirmed in a message to colleagues Thursday that he had been told he was being fired effective on Friday. He said, I intend to meet this challenge like any other I have faced in this organization with professionalism, integrity, and dignity. That's what Jensen said in an email. Jensen did not say whether he had been given a reason, but his appointment to the job in April was sharply criticized by some Trump supporters because he had overseen a domestic terrorism section after the 2021 riot at the Capitol. The FBI has characterized that attack, in which the Republican president's supporters stormed the Capitol in a bid to halt the certification of election results after he lost to Democrat Joe Biden, as an act of domestic terrorism. And that's what they are. That's what they are. They're domestic terrorists, and they should have been labeled as such. Spokespeople for the FBI declined to comment on Thursday. The FBI Agents Association said in a statement that it was concerned by reports of the firings of senior leaders and that it was reviewing all legal options to defend its members. The group said firing agents without due process would make the country less safe. They say this is a review process. Okay, there is a review process when employment actions are taken against agents. The process was established so that the FBI could remain independent and apolitical. FBI leadership committed both publicly and directly to FBIAA that they would abide by that process, and they urged them to honor that commitment and follow the law. Now, there's a broader personal purge. The news about Driscoll and Jensen comes amid a much broader personnel purge, okay, that has unfolded over the last several months under the leadership of FBI Director Kash Patel and his deputy, Dan Bongino. Numerous senior officials, including top agents in charge of big city field offices, have been pushed out of their jobs, and some agents have been subjected to polygraph exams, moves that former officials say have roiled the workforce and contributed to angst. Driscoll is a veteran agent who worked international counterterrorism investigations in New York and had commanded the Bureau's hostage rescue team. He had most recently served as acting director in charge of the FBI's Critical Incident Response Group, which deploys resources to crisis situations or in crisis situations. Now, Driscoll made headlines after he and Robert Hussein, the then deputy director, resisted Trump administration's demands for a list of agents who participated in investigations into the January 6th riot. Many within the FBI had seen that request as a precursor for mass firings, particularly in light of separate moves to fire members of special counsel Jack Smith's team that prosecuted Trump, and then reassign senior career Justice Department officials and force out prosecutors on January 6 cases and top FBI execs. Now, Emil Bove, the then senior Justice Department official who made the request and was last week confirmed for a seat on a federal appeals court, wrote a memo at the time accusing the FBI's top leaders of insubordination for resisting his request to identify the core team responsible for those January 6th investigations. He said the requests were meant to permit the Justice Department to conduct a review of those particular agents' conduct pursuant to Trump's executive order on weaponization in the Biden administration. Now, I want you all to pay attention right here. See, this is what Trump is doing. This is what Trump is doing. This is very, very dangerous. Okay, because Trump sat there and accused the Biden administration of weaponizing their power and all of that, weaponizing the FBI to take down political rivals and all of those things. But that's what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing. Okay? And the reason this is dangerous is because people are sitting back and watching. Now, some of them are complaining, but what are they actually doing to stop Trump? What are they actually doing to stop this man? This man he's gone crazy, it seems. Well, he was already crazy. But at the end of the day, he's firing people that he has a problem with because these people prosecuted January the 6th insurrectionists and domestic terrorists. Trump is very dangerous. Okay, there is no telling what he is going to do next. Let me continue. Now, responding to Bove's request, the FBI provided personnel details about several thousand employees, identifying them by unique employee numbers rather than by their names. In his farewell note, Driscoll told colleagues that it was with honor. It was the honor of my life to serve alongside each of you. He said, our collective sacrifice for those we serve is and will always be worth it. I regret nothing. You are my heroes and I remain in your debt. Now, the FBI has moved under Patel's watch to aggressively demote, reassign, or push out agents as being out of favor. Okay, the ones that are being seen as out of favor with the Bureau's leadership or the Trump administration. Do you all hear this? You know why this is so dangerous? You know why this is so dangerous? Because this will give Trump the wherewithal. See, he's lining up all of his ducks in a row. Okay? He's lining up all of his ducks in a row. He's putting people in places specifically that won't counter the things that he is going to do. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. He's getting rid of these people that he feels like are against him because they were in favor of Biden's administration, because they went after his supporters when they caused a whole insurrection. He wants those people gone, and he wants only his people put in place so that he can do whatever the hell he wants. He can have federal judges arrested for simply doing their jobs. Okay? He can start redistricting Texas so he can have 5 more seats for the Republicans. And Gavin Newsom is crying and whining about it. But Gavin Newsom, I'm sorry, Gavin Newsom, didn't you start redistricting as well so you could add like 13 seats? These people all kind of do the same thing. It's just that Trump is so much worse than anybody that I think we've ever seen. Now, in April, for instance, the Bureau reassigned several agents who were photographed kneeling during a, listen to this. Now, I want y'all to listen to this. In April, for instance, the Bureau reassigned several agents who were photographed kneeling during a racial justice protest in Washington that followed the 2020 death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police officers. So those agents who dared to kneel out of respect for the life that was lost, which was George Floyd, they reassigned them after they saw a photograph of them kneeling. How dare they kneel for racial injustice? The FBI is supposed to be full of racism. They had COINTELPRO. They're supposed to come after the people who look like me, not kneel for them when they die and are killed by the police. I want you all to pay attention, specifically the Black people who voted for Trump. Numerous special agents in charge of field offices have been told to retire, resign, or accept your reassignment. And when they reassign them, what do you think they have these people doing? Sitting at a desk all day, just thumbing through papers, I'm sure. Another agent, Michael Feinberg, has said publicly that he was told to resign or accept a demotion amid scrutiny from leadership of his friendship with Peter Strzok. Now, just because they didn't like who he's friends with, a lead agent, and this person, Peter Strzok, is a lead agent of the FBI's Trump-Russia investigation, who was fired by the Justice Department in 2018 following revelations that he had exchanged negative text messages about Trump and the FBI lawyer, or with an FBI lawyer by the name of Lisa Page. So let me get this straight here. Say what now? So they're saying that Michael Feinberg has publicly said that he was told either resign or accept a demotion because they're upset that he's friends with Peter Strzok, who was a lead agent investigating the Trump-Russia situation. And then, of course, he was fired in 2018 because they found out that he sent a text saying something negative about Trump. Do you all hear this? This is so damn dangerous. Like, this is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Do y'all hear this? This is what Trump is doing. So you mean to tell me Trump is out here getting people fired because they text a message about him that he didn't like? Is that what you're doing, Trump? Yes, it is. Of course it's what I'm doing. I'm getting rid of all the people who've said negative things about me. They deserve to be punished. I'm the best president. Look at everything I've done in the past 8 months. I'm doing a great job. I'm the best that there is. I mean, we got rid of Sleepy Joe Biden. He wasn't worth a dime. He wasn't doing anything for anybody. Everyone should be grateful and thankful. No one should be sending out negative tweets about me. I'm the end all and the be all. I've done the best that anyone could do. Why wouldn't I fire him? Do you, Queen Amadea, do you have something negative to say about me? Because I'll fire you too. I'll fire you too. That's what I'll do. And then I'll fire the royals. How about that? I'll fire all of the royals. They're the most nefarious. They say they're the most nefarious chat on all of YouTube. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll fire them. And I'll fire your moderators. And then I'll call YouTube and I'll have them to keep all of your monetization. That's what I'll do. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay? I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all to pay attention because Trump needs to sit down somewhere. I don't know about y'all, but I absolutely cannot, beloveds. I absolutely cannot. Okay, so now moving right along, I'm going to go to a video that I came across this morning. Because here's the thing. Do you all remember that there was an report that came out on yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, about J.D. Vance holding a strategy dinner at his house? How ghetto is that? How ghetto is that? So J.D. Vance is supposed to be holding a Epstein strategy dinner at his house. I think he later denied that, but obviously people don't believe it. So here's the thing. Epstein's victims' families have called on the administration to simply invite some of the survivors to that dinner because they want to hear what the hell's going on. Because what I think is going on is that they're considering giving Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon. And here's the problem with that. You know, it's interesting that so many people like Megyn Kelly, Tisa Tales with her lying self. That's what I got to tell you all about. The lie that she's now telling. Hold on. So with that all being said, they've been complaining about the possibility of Trump giving Diddy a pardon. Well, Diddy deserves a pardon. But Ghislaine Maxwell, a person who trafficked minors, who was convicted of it, who committed perjury at least 3 times. The DOJ should not even be talking to her. Why are they giving her a voice to speak? Why are they in communication with this woman? She's a whole devil. There would have not been an Epstein without her, in my opinion. She was the one luring these young girls to Epstein, acting as though she's trying to help them with her lying no good self. Now, let me just go to Tisa real quick before I go on to the next topic or show you these videos about the Epstein victims. And so here's the thing. That's right. Leon said, them people don't care about children. They absolutely don't. Well, we know Tisa doesn't care about children because she said weeks ago, F them kids. If somebody does something to you, F them kids. Ruin their lives. Ruin their families' lives. And if you don't want to do it because they got kids, F them kids. Yeah, that's what she said. Pretty much, I'm paraphrasing. But here's the thing. Okay, so let's go to her video. I'm going to play a portion of it so you all can hear this fool because she's a whole fool. Okay, I don't care who's mad. She's an idiot. And here's why. Remember how I told you guys that Diddy's team did not reach out to Trump's administration for a pardon, that the Trump administration reached out to them? And I reported to you that in Rolling Stone, they said that it was allies and friends and people in Diddy's orbit, not his defense attorneys, who reached out to Trump. Now, Tisa Tales got on her platform and lied. Okay, she got on her channel and lied and said, oh, I told you all, Diddy's team reached out. It's in Rolling Stone. No, it wasn't in Rolling Stone, fool. In Rolling Stone, it said that other people did. But here's the thing that she's trying to peddle now. So after it came out yesterday and I reported it to you all, and she knew she was going to be looking stupid, when I told you all that even though Nicole Westmoreland came out and said that it was to her understanding that they had reached out to Trump for a pardon for Diddy. And I told you all, I said, she doesn't sound sure because first of all, why did she say it's to her understanding? And I said, in the other day, Mark Agnifilo said that had not happened. And so I think that she's just not sure what's actually going on. Maybe they didn't keep her in the loop, perhaps. But with that all being said, it came out yesterday and I showed you all the proof of receipts. The articles, there were several, but I showed you all one article that said specifically that no, it's not true. It has been confirmed that Diddy's team did not reach out to Trump. Okay? Did not reach out to Trump. But in fact, other people did. The same thing I had told you all previously. So now, what does Tisa Tales do? Well, I'm so glad you asked. I'm about to let you all hear it. So Sister said Queen would be at 100K if she was not so factual. Unlike other content creators, she speaks truth and facts. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. You know, that is a large reason why I am, in fact, shadow banned. But hey, that's okay. They can't stop me because I'm still going to be on here, okay, no matter how they try to, shadow ban me or whatever. Now, let's get into it because I'm going to play the audio of what Tisa Tales said. Because, see, what she's trying to do is she's trying to counter that she was wrong. But it's not going to work because here's why. Well, it'll work for her foolish subscribers who listen to the lies and love it because they lie just like she does, many of them, and that's why they love her lies. But here's the thing. Now she's trying to act like they're throwing Nicole Westmoreland under the bus and trying to make her take some sort of fall. The bottom line is Diddy's team never reached out to Trump, and Trump even said it May the 30th. I've already shown you those receipts. May the 30th, when Trump was asked by a reporter, would he consider pardoning Diddy? He said that he would look at it. He hadn't really been following the case, but he would look at it. And if he saw the evidence or whatever, and then he said nobody reached out to him to request a pardon, but he might look into it. That's what he initially said. Okay. And then a day later, Mark Agnifilo also said nobody had reached out to Trump. Okay, so now let's listen to what this girl said. She did a video entitled Civil War. Civil War. Now she's sitting here trying to act as though Diddy's team is fighting amongst themselves. Okay, I'm going to play the audio because this is all crazy. But this is all to cover her own ass, like I said, because she knows that she was wrong and she's just trying to prove, she's trying to make it like she wasn't wrong. She can never admit when she's wrong. Now, if you're wrong, just say you're wrong. We all get it wrong sometime. We're not 100%. That's just life. But she's too much of a narcissist to ever admit that she got something wrong. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, I'm going to cue the video after this advertisement stops. And then she's sitting there talking about they're going to try to use this black woman, the only black woman on the team, and throw her under the bus. Girl, sit down.
And sit down and shut the door. It looks like there is a civil war in Diddy's team, and it looks like, as usual, they are throwing the only black woman on his legal team under the bus. You guys, what am I talking about? If you guys have been following this, Nicole Westmoreland got up and walked out in front of the cameras, okay, and told everybody that Diddy's team was pursuing a pardon from Trump. Now, at that time, I even noted that's odd because Mark Agnifilo said he don't know nothing about that. As far as I knew, he was leading the team. She stood up there and did a press conference talking about Diddy's innocent. The prosecution already researching because they couldn't bring up 70 victims. All those lawsuits are lies. She was doing what she can to go out there and be a soldier for her man. I will say one thing. I thought it was questionable. Why isn't Brian still going out there and saying this? Why isn't Mark Agnifilo going out and saying this? Because the pardon is politically charged. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And what lawyer?
Let me tell you all something. She's a whole idiot. She said the pardon is politically charged. Well, of course it is, idiot. Tell us something we don't know. A pardon comes from the president. That has everything to do with politics, okay? She said that like she really said something. She is such a clown, but let's continue.
In this day and age, wants to get involved in a political fray and the backlash from hundreds of millions of Americans being mad because you made yourself the face of the person that is trying to get Diddy free. Now, Nicole Westmoreland said, I'm your Huckleberry, and she strode out there and did that. Well, guess what? Less than 24 hours later, after she really put herself on the line for Diddy, Mark Agnifilo Brian Still and people on Diddy's team are putting out official statements saying Nicole doesn't know what she's talking about and they're not involved in that. Y'all, let's get into this. I do want to say this. For every Black woman that has a mammy fantasy about saving her king Diddy and protecting him and going out there, I get it. A lot of women of all races got Captain Save-A-Ho fantasies. I don't know. I guess nobody in your life told you the one that's supposed to be saved, that the man's coming. But okay, fine. You got mommy hero worship savior issues. But let this be a note, because look at the way that Diddy's team is using the Black woman to be disposable. And we could argue that she herself is excited to be disposable. But I find this is very, very odd, okay?
Now, where'd she get any of that from? Where did she get it from that Nicole Westmoreland is a mammy? Okay, the nerve of her to call her a mammy? Really? See, she does not like Black women. She does not like Black men. And I know she loves to say that she's Black, but I beg to differ. Let's continue.
They put this directly in People magazine and a bunch of mainstream media outlets. So you know that Mark Agnifilo wants us to hear this with the chest. Why do I keep bringing up Mark's name? Because Mark is head of Diddy's legal team. He also did an interview. We'll talk about that over live. He got a new haircut, y'all. We're going to talk about that over live, all right? They said multiple insider sources tell people that Sean Combs' legal team did not reach out to President Trump for clemency. But
now I want you all to pay attention right there. Okay, so here's what happened. I'm going to tell you all what happened. She watched my video yesterday morning. She saw that I brought up the article from People magazine, who clarified and confirmed that nobody from Diddy's team reached out to the Trump administration, just as I said. So like I said, now she has to change the narrative and try to fix it, because it's the opposite of what she said. And she just got through bragging the day before this news came out. Oh yeah, I told you guys 8 or 9 months ago. I told you guys. They said I was lying. They said I was doing it for clicks and views. I told you guys that they had reached out. She's still lying, because she said they requested a pardon. She said they literally petitioned for a pardon. Where's the paperwork, Tisa tells? There is no paperwork, because they never petitioned for a pardon. She is just a liar who lied.
Others in his orbit did. Okay? They said with less than 2 months before his sentencing, one of Sean Diddy Combs' attorneys claimed that efforts have been made to secure a pardon from President Trump. Not just efforts have been made, they literally had a press conference. So this wasn't just her, you bump into Nicole in a CVS and she's like, yeah, no, this was official. So listen to this. Nicole said, and the video's out there, it's my understanding that we've reached out and had conversations in reference to a pardon, okay? Nicole's, a member of Combs' legal team, told CNN in an interview that aired on Tuesday, August 5th. However, behind the scenes, that narrative is being disputed. Multiple sources with knowledge of that situation tell people that Diddy's legal team has not made any formal contact with Trump or his administration. Okay, somebody's lying. And who do you think is lying? Now, we're going to get into this article, but let me just take you guys on a side note, because there's 2 things that could be happening. One, they could be throwing the only Black woman on his legal team under the bus. Okay, and I say that because Diddy has been trying. I will say that Diddy is a predator, and he always leans on women to save him. Okay, but
never sue the other driver after a car accident.
Okay, I want you all to pay attention to what she's saying. Doesn't she sound crazy? She's saying Diddy's a predator. He always leans on women. What the hell would that, even if that were true, what would that have to do with Nicole Westmoreland coming out and saying it was to her understanding? The fact that the lady said to her understanding clearly means that she was out of the loop, that she likely didn't know exactly if they had talked to Trump or not. But they did say, the reports came out days ago, that the White House reached out to Diddy's team. Okay, that's what happened. But hold on.
Nicole Westmoreland went out there. I thought it was weird that Brian Still and Mark Agnifilo didn't. Again, why are y'all putting her out there? And why is she volunteering to be a slaughter to the lamb? Do you want your face associated with that? You're not going to get the benefit that maybe Mark or Brian Still can get by being associated with that. Or 2, one other thing that could be happening is they literally made a public announcement trying to keep begging Trump. And they got back a definitive It's not happening. It can't happen. So they slink back in and they're like, because it's going to be too embarrassing. And once again, they use Nicole Westmoreland as a patsy. But let me tell you something. Diddy's legal team is uber coordinated. Mark Agnifilo might come across as, oh, golly shucks, the most likable person next door. He has a really familiar air. He's very likable if you meet him, right? But that's part of like his little stick. But Mark is a legal eagle, and he is sharp, and he ran a tight ship. You cannot tell me that people just let Nicole Moreland go on CNN, or that was all orchestrated. So it makes you wonder what's going on. But
She's so stupid. She said it was all orchestrated. No, it wasn't orchestrated. Nicole Westmoreland does not have to answer to Mark Agnifilo. Now listen to this. Do you understand what she is saying here? This woman is so stupid. She's saying Mark Agnifilo ran a tight ship and that he would just not let her go out there. They had to have this orchestrated. So she's basically acting as though Mark Agnifilo, because he's Diddy's lead attorney, is Nicole Westmoreland's boss. She's acting like this man is her boss, and she can't go and do an interview and speak unless Mark gives her permission. Talking about he runs a tight ship. That woman can say whatever she wants to say. Okay, she can go do an interview if she chooses, and that's what she did. Okay, I just want you all to pay attention. Okay, it sounds so ridiculous. Panther Strike said Tisa Tales is an op and needs to be sued for lying, misinformation, and weak minds are inherently dangerous in close proximity. Exactly. Miss Sheila says she doesn't even understand what she's saying. No, she doesn't, because she's making it up on the fly. This woman is a sad story. Okay, but let's move on. Let's talk about this Epstein situation here. Because Epstein's family's victims want to come to that darn strategy dinner, okay? That Vance is supposed to be having. So I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Victim Virginia Giuffre is now speaking out about the strategy dinner top Trump administration officials are set to have tonight. Giuffre died by suicide earlier this year. CNN anchor and chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins broke this reporting. Caitlin, what is her family saying?
Yeah, Pamela, obviously the family of Virginia Giuffre has been weighing in ever since President Trump first acknowledged on Air Force One in recent days that Jeffrey Epstein had lured her away from his Mar-a-Lago club. Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her away. And I spoke with him last week, and one thing they reiterated was they want, in the conversations that have been happening on the administration's handling of this, is for people to remember the survivors and the victims at the heart of all of this. And they've issued a new statement on our team's reporting last night about this meeting that is planned at the vice president's house tonight regarding what the administration's strategy on Jeffrey Epstein is. And in this statement obtained by my colleague, Misan Lee, they say that they understand that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, is holding a strategy session this evening at his residence. They say, quote, missing from this group is, of course, any survivor of the vicious crimes of convicted perjurer and sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. They say their voices must be heard above all. And we also call upon the House subcommittee to invite survivors to testify. Now, that last is notable because also we've seen how House Republicans have been handling this, calling on the DOJ to release the Epstein documents with a subpoena coming out from the House Oversight Chair, James Comer, yesterday. They are just saying essentially that in the terms of how the administration is handling this and also how Congress is handling this, that what is important to listen to here are the survivors and are the victims in all of this. And they say that that should be included as the administration is plotting what their next move is going to look like. We know part of that could include a public appearance by the Deputy Attorney General after he sat down with Ghislaine Maxwell for about 10 hours. Whether or not that ultimately happens still remains to be seen, but a notable statement from her family coming out this morning.
It certainly is notable. We'll see if we get any response from the administration on this. Caitlin, thank you so much.
My next guest is one of the hundreds of women who survived Jeffrey Epstein's abuse, I should note on a serious note. Jess Michaels was living in New York and working as a professional dancer in the early 90s when she says that Epstein raped her when she was 22 years old. She's now an advocate for survivors and also the founder of Three Joannes, a resource for sexual assault first aid. And she joins me now. And it's so great to have you here, because I understand that you never met Ghislaine Maxwell, which I think is an important point as we talk about kind of what the next steps are for the Justice Department. But I just wonder, with your experience and what happened, what it is like for you to watch all of this playing out in the way that it is here in Washington.
So firstly, Caitlin, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on, for inviting a survivor's perspective. This is not something that is happening nearly enough. What is most excruciating to me, besides all of the physical symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder that are being revisited by not just Epstein survivors, but every survivor out there right now that feels unsafe because of what's happening, what I think is really important to note, and this is only my opinion, is I'm seeing the normalization and decriminalization of sexual assault, rape, and pedophilia and sex trafficking. That's how it feels.
And is that because of how people are treating Ghislaine Maxwell, or just what do you attribute that to?
I attribute it to the election of someone that has 28 accusers and is an adjudicated rapist. The cabinet members that all have accusations against them, and no one is batting an eye. No one is flinched. No one has done anything about it or said anything about it. It's just been accepted. We're being desensitized to the idea that sexual assault is not that big of a deal. It is the lack of an investigation into these Epstein files. There are survivors that have been sharing their story for decades, sharing what happened. They did all the right things. They approached the authorities that they were supposed to approach. And it has been ignored over and over and over again. And one of the things that I see happening, everyone is listening right now because it's about Epstein and this world of powerful people and wealth. And yet this is exactly what happens on the local level, on the state level, in our country every single day. Only 10% of cases are actually prosecuted, and only 2.5% end up in jail. So what we're seeing is that play out on the highest level in our country.
Yeah, and I should just note there, given your reference to the president, he was found liable for sexual assault. He's obviously denied that. We watched that all play out in court as they're still fighting the decision there. But on this front overall, I do.
Okay, so listen, this is exactly what I told you all. I said, instead of them talking about or speaking to Ghislaine Maxwell, if they have questions, why wouldn't they ask the survivors, the victims? Why wouldn't they talk to them? It makes absolutely no sense, right? It makes absolutely no sense. But to her point, the lady said that Trump's cabinet members, some of the picks that he chose for his cabinet, have sexual assault accusations. And this is all true. So let's talk about it. The growing list. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen. You all see this, the growing list of sexual misconduct allegations against Trump's picks. Okay? Some of these people have multiple of these people have absolutely been accused of assault. Several of the president-elect's top picks, now this is prior to the election. He is now the president, of course, unfortunately. Okay, but several of his picks, his top picks to lead the government have been accused of sexual misconduct. Okay, one person withdrew from consideration, and that was Mark Gates. So, credible allegations of impropriety, okay, let alone allegations of misconduct or assault, have often been cause for withdrawal or disqualification. But Trump, who has faced dozens of accusations of sexual misconduct dating back to the 1970s, mind you, has been known to surround himself with men who have also faced similar allegations. Okay, now the president typically denies the legitimacy of those accusations are related to the sexual misconduct and defends the men in his orbit. Okay, so in 2018, in response to an sexual assault allegation against people in his own administration, he tweeted saying, "People's lives are being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. Some are true and some are false. Some are old and some are new. There is no recovery for someone falsely accused. Life and career gone." Okay, y'all heard that? Is there no such thing any longer as due process? Well, I don't know, Mr. President. Why don't you tell us? I don't know, Trump. Why don't you tell us? Because it seems as though there isn't anything such as due process any longer now that you, sir, are in the White House. Okay, now that's what he said in 2018. So let's talk about who has been accused. Pete Hegseth. Okay, Pete Hegseth, a staff member of the California Federation of Republican Women, accused Hegseth of sexually assaulting her back in 2017 after he spoke at a conference. About 5 days after the alleged assault, an emergency room nurse contacted law enforcement after treating the woman who said she may have been drugged and raped. There was a 22-page batch of police documents that included the emergency room nurse's report and the woman's testimony to officers and Hegseth's version of the events. According to the police report, the woman confronted Hegseth for behaving inappropriately with her, with other women at the hotel bar, and they had an argument near the pool. She told the police her next memory was being in an unknown room with Hegseth, who took her phone and blocked the door with his body when she tried to leave. Do y'all hear this? Hegseth paid an undisclosed amount to the woman as part of a non-disclosure agreement after she threatened litigation in 2020, according to legal documents obtained by the Washington Post. Hegseth maintains the sexual encounter was consensual and has denied all accusations. No charges were filed. That's because he paid her off. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Trump announced his intent to nominate Kennedy to head the Department of Health and Human Services. Eliza Cooney, a woman that Kennedy hired decades ago to babysit his children, accused him of assaulting her in the 90s. Cooney, who was 23 at the time and a recent college graduate, told Vanity Fair that Kennedy rubbed her leg under the table during a family meeting, asked her to rub lotion on his back, and came up behind her in the kitchen, groping her rib cage and breast until he was interrupted by another worker. Do y'all hear this? After Cooney's allegations went public, Kennedy said during an interview on the Breaking Point podcast that the Vanity Fair article was a lot of garbage, but admitted that he was not a church boy. Oh, I have so many skeletons in my closet. Are y'all listening to this? Linda McMahon, the co-chair of Trump's transition team to head the Department of Education. She and her husband, Vince McMahon, founded the company known as the Wrestling World Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment, Inc. Now, you all already know about her because I did a whole video about Vince McMahon and the allegations against him and her. Okay, are y'all listening? And then, of course, let's not forget Elon Musk, who's no longer friends with Trump the Dump Dump. Okay. This is all crazy because Elon was accused of the chief executive of SpaceX is facing a lawsuit filed by 8 former SpaceX employees who alleged that he wrongfully fired them after they accused the company of tolerating sexual harassment in the workplace. Okay, so they didn't say he specifically did it, but that he allowed it to persist. Musk also allegedly interjected the work environment with vile sexual photographs, memes, and commentary that demeaned women and or the LGBTQ community. In response to news about the sexual harassment charge against him, Musk posted on X in 2022 saying, "Finally, we get to use elongate as a scandal name. It's kind of perfect." So making a joke about it. Okay, I just want you all to pay attention. And then, of course, Matt Gaetz, he withdrew from the nomination. Okay. This is all so crazy. These people are just nefarious, honey. They're just nefarious, and we are in dangerous waters. Okay, but so anyway, I'm going to go to this next video. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, this is Epstein victims and accusers speaking out. I'm just going to play about 5 minutes of this, and then we're out of here. Yeah, exactly, Easy. Easy said Trump's entire cabinet are freaks. Certainly appears that way, beloved.
Child sex abuser Ghislaine Maxwell is not the victim here. The real victims, the survivors, are people like Jane. Now, we don't know Jane's full name, but we know that Jane was 14 years old when she met Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at a youth camp in Michigan. Here's what the story said, quote, Epstein first abused Jane when she was 14. Jane said that there were sexual encounters with Epstein for the next 3 years, around every 2 weeks. Sometimes Maxwell was in the room during this sexual abuse. There were occasions when Maxwell touched Jane's breasts. Jane is a real survivor.
I want you all to pay attention to this because Ghislaine Maxwell has no business even being considered for a pardon. You all do realize that she didn't just go and procure these young ladies for Jeffrey Epstein and his friends. She also was doing nefarious things to them herself. And in some cases, she's alleged to have been involved in threesomes with them and Epstein. Okay? Disgusting. This woman is a PDF file, and she does not ever deserve to see the light of day, in my opinion. She should have gotten more than 20 years. She should have gotten life. And why isn't Tisa Tales going in on her? I have questions. Oh, that's right, because she hates black men.
So is Carolyn, who testified that she went to Epstein's home over 100 times from age 14 to 18, where she was told to massage Jeffrey Epstein. Carolyn said that at the age of 14, before one of the massages, Maxwell came in and felt my boobs and my hips and my buttocks and said that I had a great body for Mr. Epstein and his friends. And then there's Maria Farmer. Unlike some of Epstein's other victims, Maria Farmer was 25 years old when she says Epstein assaulted her, though her younger sister, who also says she was abused by Epstein, was a minor. Maria Farmer was an employee of Jeffrey Epstein's at the time. She said that in 1996, she was at the estate of Victoria's Secret CEO Leslie Wexner with Epstein and Maxwell. She says that Epstein and Maxwell violently groped her until she fled the room and barricaded herself in another part of the building. And during her time in Epstein's orbit, Maria Farmer says she also encountered Donald Trump. She told the New York Times that in 1995, quote, late one night, Mr. Epstein unexpectedly called her to his offices in a luxury building in Manhattan. She arrived in running shorts. Mr. Trump then arrived wearing a business suit and started to hover over her. Ms. Farmer said she recalled feeling scared as Mr. Trump stared at her bare legs. Then Mr. Epstein entered the room and she recalled him saying to Mr. Trump, no, she's not here for you. The two men left the room and Ms. Farmer said she could hear Mr. Trump commenting that he thought Ms. Farmer was 16 years old. Joining me now is Maria Farmer, along with her attorney, Jennifer Freeman. And before we get started, I just want to say to you, Maria, I think it is incredibly courageous that you are continuing to tell your story in a very, very public way. It cannot be easy, and I'm very grateful for you being here with us tonight. So let me start just there, Maria.
Thank you, Jen, for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let me start by asking you, I mean, this nightmare has followed you for a very, very long time. I mean, decades. And I'm sure that Jeffrey Epstein's reemergence, I mean, all over the news has been incredibly painful. How are you? How are you doing? Yes. How are you digesting all of this?
Thank you for asking that. That's very thoughtful because a lot of people aren't aware of every time his picture is on one of their podcasts or, and I've asked several people, can you please not just flash his picture everywhere or Maxwell's and not glamorize them? But thank you for asking that because a lot of people aren't aware that re-traumatizes victims every time we have to see his face. And it's a case that has just never gone away. It just won't go away. And I need your audience to understand that, I reported this almost 3 decades ago. So a lot of people will say, oh, why is she just coming forward now? And they think it's political. And it's not. It's something I've been working on pretty much. I dedicated all of my youth to this. And so I'm doing it not just for me, but for the victims who are now deceased and the victims that are very much alive. And I want to get justice for all of them. I feel that for my little sister to have gone through what she went through and to have had to testify against Maxwell and then have to suffer, and there are others that I love very much who are suffering this right now about Maxwell. It's completely unacceptable. Why would Maxwell be given a voice when she is a convicted pedophile?
This is what Ivy League universities you can get into with a 3.6 GPA.
It's been very difficult, and I appreciate the question. I appreciate you asking.
Of course. And I think we're all grateful for you having the courage to be here and tell your story and be out there. And let me ask you, because this is one of the reasons I think it's so important to hear from people like you who are so courageous. I mean, you and your sister, as you just referenced, Annie, were the first survivors to come forward and try to tell the authorities about what Epstein and his associates were doing. You first went to the NYPD in 1996, then the FBI. You said you felt like you weren't taken seriously.
Right.
You've repeated that.
I was dismissed.
You were now suing the federal government, accusing it of negligence and failing to protect victims of sexual assault. And I just wanted our viewers to be aware of all of that and all the time you've spent on this and trying to get this story told. Tell us more about the story you told to the police.
Well, when I called, I told them I was reporting kind of an international pedophile, and I called it child pornography ring because they didn't call it CSAM yet. But that part is one of the most important parts to me, because some photographs that were personal photographs of mine that I used for working from, not to copy exactly, but they were anatomy studies for my art. And I was doing these series of paintings for the movie As Good as It Gets. This wasn't for me, it wasn't for Epstein. It was actually for a major producer. And because of being, held captive, I didn't get to finish that. But basically, those photographs are a permanent thing that Ghislaine Maxwell stole from the basement at Leslie Wexner's guest house. And those photographs are a permanent way that my sisters are being abused and that I'm being abused. And so when I told the federal government, I said, this really frightens me because I believe if they did this to us, they're doing it to everyone. And I see a lot of children coming in allegedly for Victoria's Secret modeling or for modeling for Katie Ford. They had all these model scouts around them, Trump, all these people, and they were allegedly auditioning models. But for Victoria's Secret, the girls didn't have any breasts. I didn't understand. And so basically, it's been very an arduous journey over 29 years of just trying to get people to hear me. So I'm so grateful that you're bringing attention to this evening.
No, and we want you to be able to tell all the aspects of your story that it's so important for people to understand. And it wasn't you didn't only go to the FBI and the police back in the 90s. You also had an interview with agents in 2006. And one of our legal correspondents, Lisa Rubin, was able to obtain the FBI's notes from that interview. I'm going to show some of them right there on the screen. There are a ton of redactions in these notes, as you can see. And I know this was some time ago, but do you remember what you spoke to them about during this interview and what details you shared with them during this interview?
Yeah, so basically I want to make it really clear because people don't understand this. My little sister was only 16 and she didn't go to the FBI in 96. I did that. And I protected my family because I didn't want anyone to know how dangerous this was. And so basically after 1996, they literally just hung up and I heard nothing for 10 years. And then I got a knock on the door. I was in the woods of North Carolina and there were these two agents standing there. And Agent Nesbitt Kirkendall said, we're here about your 1996 FBI report. And I was kind of shocked. And it's because I have so much trauma. I was kind of making jokes and trying to give them orange juice and cookies and, just make light of it. And it's so traumatic. Like my sister was selling products to them. We didn't know what to do with the FBI. We told them the entire story of what occurred with Ghislaine Maxwell being a sexual predator and predating children. She used to say, I need to go get the nubiles at 3:00 because the children were getting out of school. And of course, I would ask to quit. And I said, what is this? And she said, no. They're just models for Victoria's Secret, Maria. Just calm down, you know? So basically, there was a lot of gaslighting that occurred. But in 2006, they hunted me down. And they asked me to testify in the federal trial in Florida. And then they gave the sweetheart deal. And so I never testified. And then when it came time to testify in this trial, I actually was in ICU and chemotherapy. And a lot of people say she didn't even get to testify. And I'm like, because I was incapacitated. But my sister did testify, and my mother. And our stories have never changed. They're very credible.
I did not realize
I just want my
that.
files.
Of course you do. And I didn't realize about your health journey too. You've been through a tremendous amount. You've also talked about a night in 1995 when you were at Jeffrey Epstein's office and Donald Trump came by and made a lewd comment, and then you overheard Epstein say to him, "She's not for you." And we just told this story because you've told it publicly before.
Right.
And in response to that, and I want to ask you about that, but I just wanted to note that in response to that, a White House spokesperson responded saying, "This is recycled old fake news of the highest order that was already peddled more than 6 years, concocted by Democrats and the liberal media, just like they did with the Russiagate scandal, which was just proven today. The president was never in his office. The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep." There is a lot packed in there, similar themes we've seen in other statements, I will say, but it's about you. What is your response to that?
Right.
I have a storage problem.
So, first of all, that's so insulting and disingenuous because I reported this in 1996. And I have to say, like, Donald Trump was a Democrat when I reported him. So him saying that this was a Republican thing, this is not a partisan thing. This is pedophilia. Anyone can be a pedophile. It's literally, unfortunately, it just happens to be a lot of Republicans. And that's a fact. And those same Republicans want to entertain Ghislaine Maxwell, like Tim Burchett wants to entertain her and flash her around and act like we victims should not be heard from. He didn't want to speak to me. He wanted to speak to Ghislaine and give her a voice and an audience. And my little sister is one of her victims, and so am I. So this is so damaging. And yes, I'm fighting 2 cancers, so I would like to be able to retire and have my FBI reports so that I can help bring accountability to everyone. It's not just me. I have the weight of all the young women on my shoulders right now.
You certainly do. And I am, again, grateful for you being here. We have to sneak in a very quick break.
Jen.
I have more questions for you.
Okay.
I hope you don't.
Okay, well, that was heartbreaking to listen to. That poor woman has been through hell and back. Do you all hear this? And then she never got to testify because they decided to give Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal. And then he just continued doing what he had been doing all along, okay, until he was finally arrested and then only to turn up dead in his cell and never to face justice. Isn't that awful? You can clearly tell from listening to this woman and looking at her mannerisms and everything that she is still very traumatized, holding back tears as she speaks about it, cringing at the sound of his name. It is a darn shame. It is a darn shame. And did you all hear what they said about the girl who was 14? And then Trump came there and Jeffrey Epstein told him, "No, she's for me." And Trump said, "Oh, he thought she was 16, as if that's any better." These people are something else. But to your question, D Major scaling up, Queen, did you hear that Trump said he would take over New York City if Mandani wins? Yeah, we're going to talk about that this evening when I come back at 6 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to come back at 6 o'clock. You all stay tuned because we're going to talk about that amongst other things. Because Trump, this man has vowed that he's going to be Trump's worst nightmare. Okay, so of course, Trump can't have that. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. And don't forget to tune back in at 6, okay? Because you're not going to want to miss this. With that all being said, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got